Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there, Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and welcome back to another episode of Way of the Warhammer, your ultimate guide to Warhammer the Old World. So whether you're a fresh-faced recruit or a battle-hardened general returning to the field, Way of the Warhammer is your one-stop tutorial series for mastering the epic fantasy battle games of Games Workshop's Warhammer the Old World. In this series, we'll break down everything you need to know to command your forces with confidence. And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing playing an army of 2,000 points of Ogre Kingdoms for your games of Warhammer the Old World. We'll provide you our insights upon this army and also provide you a 2,000 point starting roster that you can use in your very first game. So with that being said, let's talk about playing the Ogre Kingdoms. Alright, so the key thing to remember when it comes to your Ogre Kingdoms is that your Ogre Kingdoms are a very high strength, high toughness army. Almost everybody has at least toughness 4 and at least strength 4 when it comes to their characteristics for close combat. The only downside to an Ogre Kingdoms army, however, though, is they've got pretty average leadership skill and they have pretty low weapon skill and ballistic skill. A lot of these guys are pretty much at weapon skill 2 to 3 with ballistic skill 2 to 3 as well. Very rarely do you have anybody who's got a higher skill level, which tells you everything you need to know about this army. This army is basically made up of the ultimate bullies. The idea behind these guys is that they're really strong, they're really tough, but they're really not all that skilled. So the best way to actually use this army is to just charge forward as quickly as possible to engage your enemy so that way you can play to your strengths, which is a lot of high strength and high toughness type attacks. And you also want to make sure that you always charge forward as well, because the special rule of this army with its Ogre charge rules will help you benefit to do that. So even if you don't think you're going to have to make a roll check to see if you can do it, always charge this so that way you get that Ogre charge rule. And another thing you do have to worry about when it comes to Ogre Kingdoms is that they are a legacy faction, which means that there is no additional support for this army, at least not yet when this video has been made. These are actually holdovers from Warhammer Fantasy Battles, so because of that, they have their initial rules that they released when that game first came out, but it doesn't look like they're going to get any additional support anytime soon, so do keep that in mind if you decide to play an Ogre Kingdoms army. Now, the playstyle for an Ogre Kingdoms army is actually very simple. It's an extremely close combat oriented army. You want to charge into close combat whenever possible so that way you get bonuses to your charge as well as your strength of your attacks. And at the same time, you just kind of want to wreck face your enemies because that's exactly what plays to an Ogre Kingdom strong point. Now, there isn't really much shooting in this army list. In this particular army list, there is no shooting whatsoever, just because they kind of nerfed shooting a little bit in this edition of Warhammer the Old World. I'm not really complaining though, because I'm just really happy they brought the game back. So the playstyle for this army is very simple. Charge forward directly to your enemy and just destroy them in close combat to the best of your abilities. So that being said, let's go and talk about your 2,000 point starting roster, and the first thing we're going to talk about is what your characters should look like. So let's go out and talk about your Ogre Kingdoms list real quick. So once again, we're on the Old World Builder, which is a great free tool that we can use to build our armies. As you can see, we're going to start off with our characters, and you can tell since we're Ogre Kingdoms, we only have 2 major characters really to choose from. So let's go and talk about that real quick. So first of all, let's talk about our Army General. Our Army General is going to be a Tyrant. It's going to cost you 485 points in total. Once again, the Tyrants are really great. 6-inch wind allowance, 6 weapon skill, 4 ballistic skill, 5 strength and toughness, 5 wounds, 5 initiative, 5 attacks, 9 leadership. Their monsters, infantry as well. They also got Armor Bane as well as Bull Charge. They also cost Fear, Impact hits 2. They also have the Ogre Charge rule on top of that, which is really fantastic. So these things are really quite great about the Tyrant. Now, if you notice, his equipment is actually kind of lackluster. You only give him a hand weapon as well as light armor, and the reason why is because of some of the magical items we're giving this character, as well as some of the upgrades we're giving this character as well. And the reason why that's the case is because we're mounting this guy on a stone horn, which is quite cool. I think it's really neat in Warhammer the Old World how you could take your old Ogre Kingdom miniatures and now mount them, your Tyrants especially, they can actually mount them on monsters, which is a great thing. Because one of the things I've always wondered is why couldn't we ever put our characters on anything, to ride? I mean, these guys are bullies, right? They're going to ride the biggest and baddest thing they can. So because of that, we're going to put this thing directly on top of a stone horn, which is quite great as well. It's got 7-inch wind allowance, 3+ weapon skill. It's got strength strength 6, gives +1 toughness and +4 wounds to our Ogre tyrant, which is going to make him even deadlier. It's got 2 initiative as well as 4 attacks as well. And it's also got Horns of Stone, which is quite great, which is giving you a -2 AP when it comes to its close combat attack, which is quite nice. So there's a lot of great things this thing can actually do as well. Cause D6 +1 impact hits, Armor Bane 2, First Charge, which is quite great as well. It's also got Stone Skeleton, which is great, Thunderous Charge, Terror, Swift Stride. There's a lot of stuff this thing can do to actually just wreck face. It's going to add a lot of combat lethality to an already deadly character as well. And on top of that, we're also going to equip this guy with some magic items. We're going to maximize their magic allowance on their items. First thing, of course, is giving them is a Talisman of Protection. Give you a 5 up ward save, which would be quite nice to use for your rider as well as for your monster, so it makes you a little bit more survivable as well, which is quite nice. At the same time, we also have the Tenderizer for sending credits, sending points rather. Sorry, got a lot of Necromunda in me. Sorry to say credits, but this one's quite good. It says basically it's a 2-headed club, enough to shatter a boulder with 1 strike. Gives you +2 to your strength, so it makes you strike at strength 8. It's also got -3 AP. Gives you 1 additional attack, which is also magical attack. Now you do strike last, but let's face it, you're an ogre. You're not going to be striking first anyways. But it causes D3 wounds on top of that, so this thing is an absolute beast. And when you combine that with an already deadly mount with a Stonehorn, you're just going to be able to wreck your opponents left, right, and center as you charge up to them and smash them around. Now, at the same time, we're also going to have our Slaughter Master, which is going to be our magic caster for this character. We're giving them additional hand weapons because, as weird as it may sound, Slaughter Masters are not just wizards, they're wizards who can fight. They got 6-inch wound allowance, 4 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 4 strength, 5 toughness, 5 wounds, 3 initiative, 4 attacks, 8 leadership. We're giving them the ability to attack twice with those things. Are quite great. Not to mention, he also has Armor Bane, Fear, Impact hits 2, has access to the Lord of the Great Maw as well as Ogre Charge. This guy's an absolute beast. Now we're giving this character battle magic. At level 4, we're giving him battle magic on this one. And the reason why is because there's a lot of good things you can use in here. Fireball, we could use Cursed Arrow Attraction, Pillar of Fire, Arcane Urgency. Arcane Urgency could be really great for this army. So there's a lot of really good buffs to your army that you could actually use in order to help out your Slaughter Master to dominate on the tabletop with the rest of your army. Now, at the same time, we're also giving this character Gret's Sickle as well. So let's go ahead and talk about that magical item real fast. They kind of changed it a little bit from the previous edition. So it says, after making a casting roll, the bearer of Gret's Sickle may use it to roll additional D3, and as a result to their casting roll. However, a single friendly model within 3 inches of the bearer immediately loses a single wound. Alright, so that may seem kind of rough to use against your ogres, but that's okay though, because we're not going to pair Gret's Sickle with your ogres. We're going to pair it with your nobblers. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in detail when we actually get into the core requirements for your army as well. Now, when it comes to your big name, we're giving them Longstrider for their big name, which adds basically +1 modifier to the mirror characteristic. We did this so that way you can kind of keep pace with the other more portions of your army and also your tyrant as well, so you can kind of have him move across the battlefield as he needs to in order to help out whoever needs to in order to give those buffs for his magic abilities, so that part is quite nice as well. And I forgot to mention this, I did forget about this part. Our tyrant also has the Death Cheater big name for 5 points, and it reads that once per game you make your opponent reroll a single to wound roll made against this character. And the reason why that could be important is because in case you get shot at by something, like a cannon for example, or if an enemy has Killing Blow or Monster Slayer, something of that nature, having that ability to add just a little bit more survivability to your fighter, kind of important. So for 5 points, it's a steal. And that's going to make up your characters for this list. So now that we're done talking about your characters, let's talk about core real quick. So first of all, we got to take Ogre Bulls. You just have to. That's just the way it goes. You have to at least have one of them. So we're only going to take 3 Ogre Bulls for this list. And the reason why we're only taking 3 is because Iron Guts are so much better, but you do have to take an Ogre Bull, so we're going to kind of cheap on this one. All we're doing is just taking 3 Ogre Bulls, Iron Fists, is all we're basically doing. The Iron Fists are quite nice because it kind of acts as an additional attack, which is quite nice. At the same time, it also gives you a little bit of armor save as a shield, so Iron Fists are the pwn, so give your Ogres, the Bulls, the best thing that they have. Now, the thing that we are going to take, however, is 2 units of 4 Iron Guts. Now, Iron Guts, of course, are fantastic. Movement skill, movement 6, weapon skill 3, 2 ballistic skill, 4 strength and toughness, 3 wounds, 2 initiative, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. The ability to take heavy armor as well as great weapons are going to make them quite nice. They also have close order, cause fear, have impact hits, as well as ogre charge. They're absolutely fantastic. Now, we're not going to take a champion And the reason why we're not taking a champion is because unlike other units, champions kind of work a little bit against the interests of an Ogre Kingdom's army, just because you can kind of single out the one guy there. So we're going to try to avoid all that. But we are taking standard bearers for this unit. We're also taking a bellower as well, so we are taking those. Automatically come with their hand weapons as well as their heavy armor. But we're also taking veteran for these guys as well, so that way they can re-roll leadership tests. And the reason why is because they are ogres. Ogres are bullies, so they have pretty average leadership at best, basically the same kind of leadership as just a little bit better than humans. So we want to have that ability to reroll just because of that reason. And we're also going to take 2 units of these guys as well. So we're taking 2 units of 4 that are equipped exactly the same. And the last thing we have in this list, of course, is our unit of 20 Nobbler fighters. They're nobblers. I mean, they're not all that great. Let's take a look at it real quick. They're just basically a little bit better, just slightly better than goblins. They got 4 inch wound allowance, 2 weapon skill, 3 ballistic skill, 2 strength, 3 toughness, 1 wound, 3 initiative, 1 attack, 5 leadership. These guys have hand weapons as well as throwing weapons, which does give them multiple shots, which is quite nice, but only at strength 2, so it doesn't really matter all that much. Besides, the only reason why we're taking Nobbler fighters is because you need chaff in this army. This is as simple as that. You need something to throw at your enemies that's expendable, whether it's to block a flank charge or to interrupt enemy movements or to take on something like fanatics, for example. Nobbler fighters are quite good. Or the way I like to pair them up is to pair up your Nobbler fighters with your Slaughtermaster, so that way when you use Grit Sickle, you just can kill about 20 different Nobblers in order to make that happen. I mean, they're perfect for that because, you know, you lose a Nobbler, no one cares. Especially since they got that largely insignificant special rule, which means that no one really panics when Nobblers freak out. So that's another great way to use for these characters. And so there you guys have it. These are going to be your core requirements. We're going to basically exceed that at 501 points, so that way we can meet our core requirements. Alright, so now that we're done talking about your characters and we're done talking about your core, let's talk about your special units. You don't really have anything in the rare on this one. We're only going to go directly to special. So first of all, you got a unit of 5 man-eaters. These guys are going to cost 365 points. You're going to have 5 of them, and we're going to kind of, not necessarily abuse, but we're definitely going to spam the Motley Crew special rule with these guys. I'll explain my rationale here when we get to it. So you have your man-eater captain. Your champion's going to be here, and the reason why we want to have your champion here is the reason why we want that character is just because we want to be able to exploit that one additional attack that they have in close combat, especially with the weapon that we're going to pair this guy with. We're also taking a standard bearer, and the reason why is because we're also taking the Dragonhide banner as well. A unit carrying the Dragonhide banner may roll any hits of one, a natural 1. In addition, a unit carrying the Dragonhide banner has flaming attack special rule. Now, it's very different than what the original Dragonhide banner was able to do in the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy, but c'est la vie, you know, we got flaming attacks, plus you'll be able to reroll hits of 1, which is actually quite nice as well. And we're also taking a bellower as well because, because bellowers are quite nice to be able to have that. Having that ability to get off that one additional combat res and the clinch are a really important combat, kind of important thing to have for your gang. I'm sorry, for a regiment. Like I said, I got a lot of nickname on enemy. I do apologize for that. Now, do you automatically come in hand weapons for basic? We also got light armor as well. However, though, when it comes to our options, because of our been there, done that rule, we're going to take poison attacks, so that way you get that additional natural ability to wound on our 6 up. And we're giving these guys vanguards, so that way they can close a distance directly towards their enemies. Now, like I mentioned before, we're going to spam the Motley Crew ability for these characters, so let's go ahead and talk about exactly how we're going to do that. Now, 3 of these guys are going to have heavy armor, so that way we have a 4 armor save, so that we can use that as our primary armor save in case we're getting shot at. 4 of these guys will also have Iron Fist, that way you get that additional attack in close combat, as well as the ability to kind of block at +1 their wound, +1 armor save on top of that. And at the same time, your captain's going to be the one with armor with a great weapon, so that way they can increase their strength characteristics, especially in close combat as well. And the idea here is supposed to be that there's one guy that doesn't have anything in this group, so that way, if push comes to shove, if you got to lose somebody, losing the guy that has basically no upgrades besides their just normal hand weapon and light armor, while keeping everybody else alive. We're doing that armor save with the heavy armor as well as the Iron Fist. We get that additional attack in close combat with those Iron Fists as well, and at the same time we also have that backup great weapon in order to put some hurting on something that might be a higher strength or higher toughness that we need to take out, something like a character or a monster or something of that kind of nature. And that's going to be our man-eater unit at 365 points. The very last addition to our army is going to be a unit of 4 Mournfang Cavalry, because Mournfang Cavalry are the pwn. Let's go and talk about these guys real quick. So, Mournfang Cavalry. So you have 4 wounds for your guys. Ogre has got a 8-inch wound allowance, 3 weapon skill, 2 ballistic skill for your Ogre, 5 strength in the charge for the Mournfang, 4 for your Ogre, 4 toughness overall. It's got 4 wounds, as well as 2 initiative, 3 attacks, as well as 7 leadership. It's also monstrous cavalry. It also has your monstrous tusks, which are quite good, as well with -1 AP, as well as armor bane, which is quite nice to have for that. Not to mention, you still have armored high, which also gives you additional +1 to your armor save. It causes fear, it causes D3 impact hits with the Mournfang charge, It's got Swift Stride. These are the things that give Chaos Knights nightmares, which is quite nice as well. Now, let's talk about our loadout real quick. We're taking a Crusher on this guy for your champion. The reason why we're doing that is so that we get that one additional attack in close combat. We're also taking a Standard Bearer for this unit. Don't really need to use a Bellower too much, but the reason why we're taking that Battle Standard Bearer, sorry, not Battle Standard Bearer, that Standard Bearer, is so that we get access to the Cannibal Totem for 30 credits. Sorry, 30 points. The reason why is because a unit carrying the Cannibal Totem gains a regeneration 5+ special rolls. We got now it's a little ward save on top of these guys, but rolls only a d6 making a pursuit roll rather than the usual 2d6. Now, yes, you are trading off the ability to pursue with Mournfang Cavalry by taking the Cannibal Totem, but what we're actually doing is making your Mournfang Cavalry more survivable by giving them a 5 regen save. The way I figure is this. The problem with a lot of Ogre Kingdom armies is that everyone's going to be shooting at us. So you're going to be taking a lot of hits, a lot of casualties. So every single fighter you lose is a fighter you can't really afford to lose because your points are so heavily concentrated. So the idea of using that Cannibal Totem or make these guys a little bit more survivable makes these guys last longer. After all, if you can't pursue, it doesn't really matter though because you can still charge later on. On the 8-inch charge, you'll be able to catch your opponent and be able to cause all kinds of problems that way as well. Now, we're giving these guys great weapons, and the reason why is because you're initiative 2 already, so you're probably going to be hitting slow anyhow, so might as well just give you just the great weapons for that always oppressive +2 strength modifier with -2 AP. Plus, you also got Armor Bane, which is quite nice in case you roll a spare 6. So, might as well just kind of embrace the change and use that great weapon. We're not taking Iron Fist just because your Mournfang gives you that 1 armored hide-up already, plus in combination with the Cannibal Totem, you're quite survivable. What you want is killing power, and that's the reason why we take the great weapon on that. Now, like I said before, for your armor, we're taking heavy armor because you make it a little bit more survivable. At the same time, when you combine that with your impacting hits from your Mournfang, you're going to cause all kinds of problems for your enemy. And that's going to make up your special choices for this army. So in conclusion, this army is very straightforward. There's not really much to distract you or to kind of like rule against you or a lot of complicated rules. So remember, all you really got to do is just kind of charge in as quickly as possible in close combat and destroy them that way. It's pretty straightforward in order to do so. Which also, oddly enough, makes this army a really good beginner army for a lot of players, especially if you're trying out breaking into Warhammer the Old World for the very first time. It's a good way to actually get you to learn the game and understand how it pretty much works. Now, unfortunately, this is a legacy faction, which basically means they're not getting any additional support, so it's unknown if Games Workshop is ever going to release additional products for this line or additional rules for this line. I certainly hope that they do, because this is a really fun army to actually play, especially back during the early editions of Warhammer Fantasy, so I hope they do change their mind on that one, but just be aware, there might not be very much support for it, and you might run into some situations where if you try to play at local gaming stores or if you try to play in tournaments, they might not let you use it just because it's a legacy faction. There's no additional support on that, so do keep that in mind as well. And of course, if you guys have any other suggestions for some other videos that you'd like to be seen made about the Warhammer the Old World, please put it down in the comments box down below. If I like your idea, I'll make a video and give you credit for it. So that's good for this video, guys. As always, please be sure to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. I am Commander Cheapskate. That's good for this video. I'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.